Never go to the second location. Always trust your gut. Hello, my name is Chrissy Champagne, and you are listening to Residue, a true crime podcast dedicated to keeping you paranoid. And here on Residue, we tell you the truth behind your favorite movies, and this week we are doing a Lifetime movie. Some of our favorites are Lifetime movies. This week we are doing the #1 streaming movie on Netflix this week, Gaslit by My Husband, the Morgan Metzer Story. Before we get started, I just wanted to let you all know that you can follow me on Instagram at Residue Podcast, TikTok at Residue, a true crime podcast, and Facebook at Residue, a true crime podcast. And as you know, the greatest thing you could possibly do for any podcast that you love is leave a positive review. And I'm going to read you some reviews that I received this week because, my Lord above, you guys are amazing. So this one comes in from Jessica Blue, 31. She said, an instant fave, 5 stars. I found Chrissy on TikTok and it was an immediate follow. I found her podcast and it quickly became a standout favorite in my weekly podcast rotation. Chrissy has a gift for storytelling that makes you feel like a good friend telling you their favorite tale. She has wonderful insight into true crime and the movies they inspire. I will continue to listen as long as she continues to record. 5 out of 5 with another little heart emoji. My good Lord, Jessica. Thank you. Oh my God. You're the best. I also have to say that I have been having great conversations with you guys over on Spotify, because on Spotify, I can actually answer you back and we can talk and we can chit chat. On Apple, those reviews actually push the podcast out to more listeners. But over on Spotify, I get to have conversations with you guys. So right now on Netflix, this movie, Gaslit by My Husband, the Morgan Metzer Story, is streaming. And it was at #1, then it was at #4. It is doing very well in the top 10 this week. So I thought I would give you guys this episode. This is a crazy story, but this is also a survival story. And as always, listener discretion is advised. Gaslit by My Husband, the Morgan Metzer Story is a 2024 Lifetime true crime drama that dramatizes a disturbing real-life case of domestic abuse, manipulation, and psychological control. The film follows Morgan Metzer, a woman whose life is upended after a masked intruder brutally attacks her, only for suspicion to fall on someone very close to her. The cast is led by Jana Kramer as Morgan Metzer and Austin Nichols as Rodney, with Abigail as Mina in a supporting role. Both Kramer and Nichols were previously known for One Tree Hill. The film was directed by Lee Gabiana and written by Benjamin Anderson, and it premiered on Lifetime on June 9th, 2024. So, reviews of the movie have been mixed to moderately positive, with many viewers praising the performances while noting that the storytelling follows a familiar Lifetime formula. One review graded the film a B-, highlighting Kramer's impressive range of emotional depth, and then highlighting Nichols' effectiveness in making the antagonist convincingly unsettling. Which I actually wanted to point out that Austin Nichols' portrayal of Rodney Metzer, oh my God, he reminds me of Dale Midkiff in A Cry for Help, the Tracy Thurman story. And if you follow me on TikTok and Instagram, you know I just can't get enough of this movie. I talk about it constantly. It is the movie, along with A Killer Among Friends, that got me interested in true crime. And as an adult, I wanted to start this podcast because of those two movies. So Dale Midkiff plays Buck Thurman in A Cry for Help, and he is so good at playing this raging asshole that you just kind of hate him in real life. We all love Dale. We know. Dale We are going to meet you one day. We're putting that out there into the universe. We love Dale Midkiff, but you know what I'm saying. So this is what Austin Nichols' portrayal of Rodney did for me. I'm watching him. I'm like, dude, I want to punch him. My husband said the same thing. We're watching the movie. We're like, I hate this guy so much. So he does a fantastic job of, playing somebody that is very punchable. A lot of the reviews state that this film's strongest impact comes from the subject matter because it's unsettling and realistic. This portrayal of gaslighting, it shows you how it feels, particularly, hey guys, that's another word I can't say. Let's say especially in showing how this repeated manipulation can erode your sense of reality. Like you feel like you're losing your entire sense of reality. Some reviewers noted that the depiction of domestic violence is more explicit than expected for a TV movie. And I do agree with that. So I will warn you, when the movie begins, I was taken aback a bit by how shocking some of the scenes were. For a Lifetime movie, you know what I'm saying. I mean, but then again, we all did watch A Cry for Help in the 80s. Just some scenes may be difficult for audiences to watch, and there might be some parts of this story that are going to be very triggering, so I will warn you ahead of time. Now, overall, this Lifetime movie stands out for bringing attention to psychological abuse and the real-life story behind Morgan Metzer and what she went through. And Morgan just wanted this movie made because she wanted to raise awareness about the warning signs of narcissism and gaslighting and the consequences of gaslighting in relationships. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which one person tries to make another person doubt their own memory, perception, or sanity. Instead of openly disagreeing or arguing, the manipulator denies facts, twists events, or insists something didn't happen the way that the other person remembers. Over time, this can make the victim feel confused, anxious, and dependent on the manipulator for a sense of reality. For example, someone might say, "You're imagining things," or that never happened, even when it clearly did. And this gradually undermines the other person's confidence in their own mind. So the term gaslight actually came from the film Gaslight, starring Ingrid Bergman and Charles Boyer. Also, a little fun fact about myself, I actually am a film school dropout. Film school dropout, no graduation day for you. Anyway, I took a film class, and in this certain class, we watched the movie Gaslight back in the late 90s, so I learned all about gaslighting back then. Now, this film is from 1944, and in the story, a husband subtly manipulates his wife to make her believe she is losing her sanity, and one of his tactics involves dimming the gas-powered lights in their home while insisting to her that the lighting has not changed, leading her to question her own perception. And this repeated deception is where the term gaslighting originated. And today, the concept of gaslighting is widely used in psychology and everyday language to describe emotional abuse in relationships, workplaces, and it's often associated with patterns like denial, blame shifting, contradiction, and minimizing someone's feelings or experiences. And recognizing gaslighting is important because it can have serious mental health effects, including anxiety and depression, and most importantly, your loss of self-trust. New Year's Eve 2020, and Morgan Metzer is hanging out at her best friend Nicole's house. Nicole was super excited. It was supposed to be a really chill but fun girls' night. Now, Morgan was in the middle of a divorce, and it was just finally finalized. Her children, she had a twin son and daughter, they were away with her sister for the Christmas break. And so Morgan had this time alone to hang out with her best friend. They were drinking wine, they were watching TV, they were laughing. But then Morgan said she wanted to go home. She just felt really tired. She had been stressed out for so long, and she just felt like, I just want to go home, be in my own bed, and be alone. Of course, Nicole was like, what the hell, man? Thought we are going to have a fun girls' night. But, you go do what you've got to do. I understand. So Morgan goes home. She's there all by herself. She felt kind of lonely because her children weren't home, but she had her dog, and she went to bed. But she woke up at around 11:59 because she heard fireworks. All the fireworks were going off. Happy New Year! So she wakes up for a little bit. She says Happy New Year's to her dog, and then she gets back in bed. And she falls asleep again. But she wakes up and sees that there is a figure standing in her doorway. And Morgan says this figure, they had on a black hoodie, a jacket, black pants, black gloves, and their voice sounded like Batman. Can you even imagine how creepy that has to be? And Morgan says that the man kept saying, you're going to regret this. You've done really wrong now. And sounded exactly like Batman while he's saying this. And I have to add that there is a fantastic 48 Hours episode, which I used as one of my main sources. And Morgan talks in this episode, and she's interviewed, and she says that this was just the absolute worst feeling in the world. She's being attacked by this man. He immediately jumps on her and he starts hitting her. She says pistol whipping her with the gun that he had in his hand. Then he takes her hands, ties them with zip ties, and he just keeps hitting her. And then he starts strangling her almost until she passes out. Like, Morgan believed that this man was there to kill her. She was thinking of her children the entire time. And she was thinking, oh my God, I don't have a will. I didn't arrange for anyone to take care of my children. If something happens, oh my God, my children aren't going to have a mother. And that her children were what kept her alive. She just kept thinking about them and how they need her. This person is beating her with a gun. He's choking her, strangling her, and sexually assaults her. Morgan's hands are tied with the zip ties behind her back, and she is just doing whatever she needs to do to get out of this situation, has no idea who this person is. Now, this person is sitting on top of her and saying, you're going to miss your husband. You're going to miss your husband. And she says, no, please don't kill my husband. Please don't kill my husband. She says that when she said this to this man, that everything started to change. The man sort of calmed down a little bit. He jumped up. He said, where's your jewelry? I want your jewelry. She's like, I don't have any. He starts ripping through her drawers. He's throwing everything all over the place. And then this person asks her for her cell phone. He wants her passcode to her phone. He takes her phone, and on her phone, she had an app that controlled her security alarm system. So he turns off the security system. He opens her back door, which this back door leads out to a porch, like a back deck in her backyard, and he puts a pillowcase over her head. He drags her out to that porch naked, completely naked, and he leaves her on the porch. He says, listen, you do not move. You do not get up until you hear 2 car honks. And if you do move, I'm going to kill you. And you have to understand that Morgan's property was very secluded. Like, if she was on her porch, neighbors couldn't see her. Nobody could see her back there. So she laid there. She lay there for over 40 minutes, and then she starts to hear a sound. It sounds like someone is walking in her backyard. She still has the pillowcase over her head. She's completely naked. Her arms are zip tied. Her hands are zip tied together behind her back, and she hears someone walking up behind her, sort of shuffling around. And then she hears the voice of her ex-husband, Rodney Metzer, and he says, oh, honey, what happened? Morgan and Rodney met when she was 14 and he was 17, and Morgan says that it was love at first sight. She thought that he was so handsome, and Rodney called her his princess, and not only that, but he treated her like a princess. Rodney's mother says that he was enamored with Morgan, and he was always by her side. He never wanted to be without her. That she was driving him to a baseball game one night, and he said, "Hey, Mom, tonight you're going to meet Morgan. She's my girlfriend." These two high school sweethearts got married at age 21. Well, Morgan was 21. Rodney was, 24? And they had the greatest, most beautiful wedding. Morgan says that her wedding was everything that she could ever dream of, that her father gave her anything that she wanted. And at first, this marriage was amazing. It was awesome. It was just the two of them. They were happily in love, newlyweds. But 8 months after the wedding, Rod's younger brother, Kevin, died. Now, Kevin was battling leukemia. He lost his battle, and Rod's mom said that Rod was never the same after Kevin's death. He needed Morgan now more than ever. Like, he never left her side. He confided in her for everything and anything that he needed. Then, the next year, things start to get a little happier for the couple because they find out that Morgan is pregnant, and they realize they're going to have a son. So they're about to have a baby boy, and they say, you know what, let's name him Kevin after Rod's brother. And this is a trigger warning, baby Kevin was born with a congenital heart defect, and he lived only 18 days. Baby Kevin, actually died on his due date. Morgan says this was all a blur. It's all just unreal to her. But 3 months later, Morgan is pregnant again, and this time with twins. And she gave birth to a boy and a girl in 2012. But this is when the marriage between Morgan and Rod starts to deteriorate. A year after the twins were born, Rod lost his job. The family had no income, no money coming in. At this time, when he lost his job, Rod was a day trader. But Morgan always had this dream to be an interior designer and have her own business. And in the movie, they will depict that when she says this to her husband, he's not supportive at all. He tells her that she doesn't have a degree. She never went to college to get a degree for interior design, so there's no way that she would ever be able to do this. He's putting it down. He's making her feel like she's kind of dumb for thinking she could do this. But Morgan does it, and she starts a design company called Shiplap and Sugar, and it became so successful so quickly that she asked her best friend Nicole to join her, and her professional success caused her husband Rod to just start losing it. Now, Morgan recalls one incident that was one of the most traumatic for her. It was Labor Day weekend, and her and Rod were on a boat with some friends for the weekend. They were staying in a cabin. They had some fun on the boat, and then they both returned to the cabin that night. And this was when Rod actually physically abused her for the first time. And she called her father, and she actually left. But Rod tried to convince her, no, this is all your fault. Don't you remember? You were actually hitting me. You're the one to blame. You were going crazy, and I was just trying to stop you. He would even tell her parents and his parents that she's the violent one, that she did this. And he tries to convince everybody, her friends, her family, that it's all her. And the thing is that Morgan had bruises. She had bruises on her wrists. She had bruises on her body. And people were like, well, wait a minute. Why does she have bruises if she's beating you? And Rod would say, well, because I have to hold her back. Do you understand? She's coming at me with such force that I have to take her wrist and hold her back because she is so physically abusive and out of control. And Morgan starts believing this. She starts doubting her own reality. She felt like she was going crazy. I mean, her husband is even involving her twins. He's telling his kids, hey, did you know that Mommy pushed me down the stairs? Can you believe that? And this dude, he actually throws himself down a flight of stairs And he was badly hurt. He walked up to his children. He's like, look, mommy pushed me down the stairs. Isn't that horrible? Look what your mother does to me. Now, Rod was also sexually abusive this entire marriage. He would never take no for an answer. And Morgan decides in 2020 that this is done. I am done. I am filing for divorce. And her divorce was finalized in 2020. But now, here we are. I mean, the divorce was only finalized a couple of weeks ago, and now it's the early morning hours of New Year's Day, January 1st, 2021, and her husband, her ex-husband, Rodney Metzer, is here in her backyard at 1 a.m. in the morning to rescue her. So Rod is there at her home. He calls 911. He rescued Morgan, and a detective named Sergeant Dakota Livers, he shows up to the scene and he is immediately suspicious of Rodney. And I can completely understand why this man is suspicious, because I want to tell you why. Rodney explained he was there. So he says he's at home in his new apartment, his bachelor pad, and he's just brushing his teeth in his bathroom, and all of a sudden he hears someone knocking on his bathroom window. It's about, 12:30 a.m. He hears someone knocking. And he hears some scratching, and he hears some voices, but he can't figure out what they're saying. But he knows that he heard the word Morgan, and he keeps hearing Morgan. So he thought, oh my God, Morgan's in trouble. So he tried to call Morgan, but she didn't answer. So he immediately got in his car. He drove all the way to Morgan's house. It was only 12 minutes away. And then he found her in the backyard on the porch. I mean, dude, that story is so suspicious. That story is so insane. I'm going to tell you that sounds like the story of somebody who has been gaslighting people for his entire life, and he just thinks that he can pull one over on anybody. But no, Sergeant Dakota Livers, he's not falling for this shit. He immediately knows, like, dude, this dude is fucking weird. So Detective Livers is already on Morgan's side, but he hasn't let her know that yet. Now they call in some other detectives, and as they wait for detectives to arrive, Rodney is sitting in his car with another deputy. So around 3 a.m. on New Year's Day, more deputies arrive, more detectives arrive. And when they do, Rodney actually says to one of them, hey, are you the guy that we've been waiting for? And this detective's like, yes, I am. And Rodney goes, well, do your job. I mean, so the detectives on scene are kind of like, what is this dude's issue? So they go in and they talk to Morgan. And now Morgan was a mess. Her eye was swollen shut, black and blue. She still had a zip tie on one wrist. And to detectives, this looked like this is an emotional attack. They could tell that not only was Morgan physically injured, but psychologically injured. Now, detectives record a conversation with Morgan inside the house, and the other detectives took Rod away. They separated both of them so they could talk to them separately. And while Morgan is talking to Detective Livers, she says, I thought it was him. I mean, Sergeant Livers already feels like it's him. So he's probing her more and more. He's like, so tell me more about the attack. She says that during the attack, when this person said, you're going to miss your husband, she knew in that moment that everything changed. She also says that, like, listen, I've been pregnant twice, and my husband would help me in and out of bed, especially after our first baby Kevin. So when the attacker lifted her out of bed to bring her to the porch, she knew 100% that it was her husband, Rod, that was doing this to her, because the way he held her, the way he got her out of bed, she was like, this is my ex-husband. This cannot be real. Now, how did he think he was going to get away with this? He changed his voice to sound more like Batman. He wore a mask. But come on, you guys have been together since she was 14. You've been married about a decade. You've had children together. You live in the same home together. She knows how you smell. She knows how you walk, how you touch her. Now, Morgan is interviewed by detectives, and she tells them that the whole week prior, leading up to this, it was a bad week. It was a messy week. She is getting her divorce finalized. She's trying to move on. Christmas is coming up. The holidays are here. And her ex-husband, Rod, tells her, listen, I need to talk to you. And I need to talk to you in private. I have something very difficult to talk about. He tells her that he has pancreatic cancer. And Morgan felt bad for him. I mean, this is the father of her children. She's like, oh my goodness. Okay. Have you told anyone else? He says, no, you're the only person that I told. I don't know what to do. And he's a mess. So she lets him sleep at her house for that week. He stayed there the whole week and he slept on the sofa. He tried to reconcile with her that entire week. He begged her to get back together, but Morgan had no interest. She did not want to get back together with him. She didn't want to, push him down when he was already down and out, telling her he has cancer and he's dying. So she's like, you can stay here. But after he just kept pushing that they get back together, by December 31st, she was like, listen, you got to go tell your friends and your family, your parents about your cancer because I cannot do this with you. I cannot be the only person that you lean on. And she told him that he couldn't stay at her house anymore. He had to go. And now this is New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2020, the day she's supposed to go hang out with her best friend, Nicole. Rod spends the entire day texting Morgan nonstop saying, we need to get back together. We need to be together. What are you doing? So Morgan lied to Rod and she told him, listen, it's New Year's Eve. I'm going to go stay with my parents. I'm not going to be home. You can't come to the house. No one will be here. The kids are with my sister. Just stay away. And she lied and said she's going to be at her parents' house. Now, Morgan is telling Detective Livers all of this. Sergeant Livers, I know I keep going back and forth between detective and sergeant. I'm sorry. So I'm fired up. I'm telling this story and I'm just fired up right now. So she's telling him this. And I know that a lot of you have felt this feeling. If you've been in a relationship where somebody is gaslighting you, manipulating you, and you feel like you're going crazy, the moment somebody actually believes you, it feels like the gates of heaven just opened up. So Sergeant Livers, he believes her. He tells her, I believe you. I'm on your side. And Morgan feels seen for the first time since she's been married to Rod. But how are they going to prove that Rod did this? So they go through Rod's phone. And inside of this phone, there was a hidden folder in his iPhone, and there were images of Morgan naked, partially dressed. And these photos looked like Morgan had no idea that he was taking photos of her. They also say that he took photos of Morgan's phone and the text messages that she had on her phone with another man. So he was pulling those messages up and then taking photos with his own phone. So because of these photos, police were able to arrest him. And he said to them, come on, they're just photos. I'm sorry. I thought my wife was cheating on me, so I took some photos. People make mistakes. Those were his words. Now, searching the crime scene, looking around Morgan's house, police discover that one of her basement windows it had an alarm on it. So she had a whole alarm system in her house. Now, this one window did have an alarm sensor, but that sensor was removed and placed near the windowsill. Now, I guess since the sensor was placed near the windowsill, it wouldn't have gone off if Rod opened it. Rod disabled the sensors while he was at her house for an entire week. He had all of this time. She was at work. He was just walking around the house figuring out what he could do. Now, they're going through all of Morgan's security footage from her alarm system, and they catch a video of Rod arriving on her front porch earlier that evening before this attack happened while Morgan was still at Nicole's house. He didn't know she was there. He thought that she was at her parents', and police believe that this attempt of showing up to her home, looking into that camera and saying, hey, Morgan, listen, I'm going to leave you a check for $56,000. He said, I'm going to leave you a check for $56,000 because you deserve everything. You deserve all the money in the world. You deserve it all. And I'm going to leave it for you. And police did believe that this was actually an attempt made by Rod to get Morgan to return home from wherever she was, because if she knows there's $56K sitting on her front porch, of course she's going to return home. Here's the thing about that. When Morgan did return home that night after hanging out with Nicole, she found the check and she placed it on her kitchen counter. And guess what was missing from the house when they did a sweep of the home during the crime scene? The attacker took that check. Rod can't leave her a $56,000 check. Rod was bankrupt. Now, police get a warrant to search Rod's apartment. And let me tell you, the district attorney at the time, Rachel Ash, she says that this was a prosecutor's dream case because there was overwhelming evidence to go to trial. Now, they enter his home and they find a baggie that used to contain zip ties. It was a baggie for zip ties. They find that. They also take that baggie and they use this app on their phone, scan the barcode on the baggie, and it leads them to Lowe's. They go to Lowe's and they get video footage of Rod walking around Lowe's. Mind you, it's 2020. It's like full on COVID. He's like the only person in the store not wearing a mask, and his face is just full right there, front and center on the security cameras of him buying a bag of zip ties. They also find the tail of a zip tie at Rod's apartment. Now, Morgan was tied with the zip ties, but they were made into these like makeshift handcuffs. So the zip ties had two extra heads, like he tied them together. So that tail of the zip tie that they found at Rod's house, they have to see if that matches the zip ties that were on Morgan. And guess what? It does. This one's my favorite. Rod had a book at his home. It was titled 7 Ways to Be Her Hero. And then his browser history had searches such as how to crack an iPhone password, how to get sympathy from your ex, how to get cancer letters. Yeah, he faked having pancreatic cancer. He also faked a doctor bill, and he wasn't sick at all. Oh, wait, there was another search. It was something like how to choke someone into unconsciousness. Oh, and my absolute favorite search, how to change your voice. So the detectives, they have him sitting in this interrogation room and they ask him, so would there be any reason at all that you would want to search how to change your voice? And Rod sits there, I'm telling you, straight-faced. He's like, yeah, of course, I don't like my voice. I want to sound more manly. So they also ask Rod, hey, do you have any illnesses? Are you sick at all? And he goes, yes, I am diabetic. And that is true. He is diabetic. He had type 1 diabetes. And the detective says, well, I thought you had cancer. Why did you tell Morgan that you had cancer? The detectives are asking him this question, and he just tries to manipulate them so bad. He tries to change the subject. He says, I don't know if I should talk to you guys anymore. I'm starting to get a bad feeling from you. I love how smartassy the detective is. He says, tell me about the zip ties. And Rod says, I don't have zip ties. Detective says, yeah, I know you don't because we have them now. And I just thought that was great. So they start slowly explaining to Rod everything about the zip ties and how the zip tie from his home matches the zip ties that were in Morgan's home. And Rod just goes, hey, wait a minute. Do you guys think that I did this? And they're like, boom, charged with 10 counts, including home invasion, sexual battery, kidnapping, and aggravated assault. They also reviewed the security camera footage from Rod's apartment, and there's no video of Rod leaving at the time he said he left, but they do see video of Rod coming in, all disheveled after Morgan is attacked. And then 4 minutes later, he leaves his building. He's wearing new clothes, new sneakers, and he's carrying this little plastic bag. And this is around 1:24 a.m. Police never did find what was in that plastic bag. I mean, they never found the plastic bag. So he leaves his apartment building complex and it's on camera, and then he arrives at Morgan's home and that is on camera. But they thought it was really strange that on the video, the camera footage, he rings the doorbell and he's like, oh, she's not answering. So he walks around the outside of her house at 1 a.m. That's just so odd. And even Morgan thought that was odd. So police are just so blown away with the amount of evidence they have on him. I mean, as I said, the prosecutor was like, oh my God, this is a dream. We're going to win no matter what. But they decide not to go to trial. And on August 4th, 2021, Rod pleaded guilty to 14 counts, and he agreed to serve 25 years and 45 years of probation. At Rod's sentencing, Morgan read an impact statement, her victim's impact statement, and she said, not only will this statement be to my attacker, but it will also be the last words to whom I thought was the love of my life. The last 4 years being married to you was like living with a monster that constantly tried to break me down and fence me in. The pain you have given me has turned into power. In 2021, Morgan spoke to Fox 5 Atlanta, and she said, "He put certain things in my head and said I did something wrong, but it was really him who was doing it. Everyone thought I had the perfect life. We don't lean on each other or necessarily give it, our friends, the true light of what our life looks like. And I feel like if we did, we might be able to hear, oh, this isn't healthy." When the Lifetime movie Gaslit by My Husband, the Morgan Metzer Story premiered in June of 2024, Morgan spoke with Today, and she told them that it all felt really surreal. "I watched it and I felt like it was somebody else's story, and then every once in a while, it would hit me like, oh, this is about you." Certain parts would make me feel a little sad, and then some parts I'd be like, I can't actually believe I went through this. How did I make it? And it just made me think women's strength is beyond powerful. Stay safe and stay paranoid. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Residue is created, hosted, written, researched, edited, and produced by me, Chrissy. You guys are the best.